and kick off the ceremony. And I'd like to invite James Gilmore to begin our ceremony. Thank you, Jim. That was amazing. Every time I hear bagpipes, they can stir up emotion, and you just listen to them. As you can see, I get a little emotional. Want to welcome you all to an amazing day. As you can see, this means a lot to me. And I'm really appreciative y'all are here. My name is Tim Trarig. Let's see if I can read it. My name is Tim Trarig, and I'm the president and founder of Guardians Support Center here in Santa Clarita. I'm also a retired fire captain with LA City Fire Department, in which I served 35 years. I want to welcome you all to this special day of remembrance and reflection for those that lost their lives on 9/11 and the many that have died since. We promised as a country that we will never forget. As we begin our ceremony of remembrance and reflection, I would like to invite up my friend and pastor, Pastor Jerry Cook of Freedom Way Church, to do the invocation. You also can hear Pastor Jerry on his radio show on KHTS on Politics in the Pulpit on KHTS Radio 98.1 and AM 1220 every Wednesday at 2 p.m. He's an amazing guy, and I'd like to invite him up to do that for us.
Thanks for the shameless plug there, Tim. Appreciate that. Would you join us this morning in a word of prayer? Our Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you this morning asking you to bless this occasion. We ask that you keep watch over our first responders, our police personnel, the firemen who are now battling fires just to the south and east of us, and of course our fighting men and women all across the globe. We ask that you continue to comfort those families and friends who have lost loved ones 23 years ago on that tragic day in New York City. We ask that those who perpetuated and facilitated those evil acts would be judged accordingly, and that there would be no plea deal for the sake of political expediency. Lord, watch over our nation. Give us sane, sound, and solemn leaders to lead us who will respect our Constitution and reverence and fear our way of life, and to love and honor you as the provider of our great land. Thank you for the guardians and for what they do and provide. Continue to expand their reach. Bless their endeavors as they minister and help those who have helped us. We ask all of this in the great and glorious name of Jesus Christ, and all of God's people said, Amen.
Would you please stand and for the presentation of colors by the Young Marines of Santa Clarita.
Right, eight, forward, arch, left, 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 right, left, left, mark, time, march, left, 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 right, color guard, halt, left, face, presents, colors.
Would you please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem? Ladies and gentlemen, he is the lead singer for Tower of Power's East Bay Soul, opening artist for Jay Leno, international award-winning jazz and soul recording artist, a Santa Clarita resident and a U.S. Navy veteran, and one of our own guardians. Let's give a warm welcome to Terrell Edwards singing the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Wow. Awesome. Would you also please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? I'd like to invite up Patrick Lee Gibson, a retired Los Angeles County Sheriff and a candidate for State Assembly District 40, up to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guards, you can exit.
Color guard. Right. Face. Forward. Arch. Left. 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 Right. Left. 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 Right. 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 Right.
Alrighty, you can be seated or remain standing. I would now like to invite up our congressman for the 27th District and former Navy pilot Mike Garcia to say a few words.
How you guys doing? Well, we were complaining about the heat last weekend, weren't we? Holy cow, this is like a worst nightmare for a car guy to come out and see the mist falling as you're showing your car at a public display like this. It is an honor to be here. I think I've been here all 4 times. If I haven't, I apologize. But this is a fantastic tradition, an opportunity to pay tribute to those who serve us and to thank the organizations like Guardians, SCV, who continue to provide the security blanket to those who provide the security blanket to us, the first responders, the law enforcement, the vets in our community, to give them the support that they need. This last week, we paid tribute to 13 Gold Star families who lost their loved ones over 2 years ago now at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan as a result of the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, which was completely unnecessary. But it was a reminder that we still have families suffering right now. We still have veterans enduring pain, and we still have active duty members overseas right now serving our beautiful nation. And when we say we can never forget that there's nuances to that I think are very important. I was walking with one of my staffers on my official side the other day, and we were going to go shoot a video about 9/11, and I asked her, where were you on 9/11? And that's kind of what we ask each other, right? Where were you that day? It's just like when Elvis died, we all knew. You guys, well, I didn't. I was like -4, I think, when he. But yeah, sorry, Mike. That was not an old guy joke. And she goes, she responds with, "I was in my mom's womb." And it dawned on me, and this is someone who's in the professional workforce, and so I looked it up, and roughly 1/3 of our country was not alive on 9/11. So for me, the question isn't necessarily where were you on 9/11. The question is, what did you do as a result of 9/11? What did you do to make sure that we either didn't forget 9/11 or forget those who served in the wake of 9/11, but also what have you done to prevent 9/11 or to educate your kids and your grandkids on 9/11? And I think that's the important thing. I think the fact that many of our law enforcement today who are, in their 20s going through academies weren't alive in 9/11, but they still put on that uniform. And the fact that on 9/11, the firefighters ran into the buildings, the cops ran into the buildings rather than running away. And so I think it is very important to remember where you were on 9/11, but it's very important for all of us to remember what we have done and what the lessons learned from 9/11 are. And in the wake of 9/11, we established what was called the 9/11 Commission. It was meant to go look at all of the mistakes that were made by our country, where we could have probably detected the entrance of these terrorists into our country and maybe seen these actions coming sooner. And one of the key takeaways from the 9/11 Commission was to protect your borders. And I would submit today that in many cases and in many ways, we are actually more vulnerable today than we were on September 10th in 2001 because we haven't remembered the lessons learned from September 11th, 2001. And so, one, we need to secure our borders. We've got to make sure that our nation is secure at all levels. As a son of an immigrant, I'm not saying we stop immigration. We don't slow that down. We need to fix the immigration process. It's broken. It shouldn't take decades to become a citizen. We love our immigrants. In many cases, the immigrants are the most grateful Americans because they understand coming from Cuba, coming from China, coming from other countries, that tyranny and socialism are bad things and that they're blessed to be Americans. And so I'm not saying we stop immigration, but we do need to secure our borders and make sure that we protect our beautiful country from invaders, because we know at least several hundred known terrorists have actually crossed our borders in the midst of the 7 million who have also done it. What you do also matters. I remember where I was getting ready to go learn how to fly the F-18 Super Hornet and ultimately go serve over Iraq in 2003 during Operation Iraqi Freedom. By the way, I still fit in my flight suit now, so that was one of my goals for the year, and I'm back to that. So, but one of our instructors walked into the room and said, "Guys, you need to stop briefing. Something's happening." And we watched what unfolded on the TV. And over the course of the next week, we were flying missions. Basically, the only aircraft in the sky, if you remember, all airliners stopped, and we were effectively making sure that no airliners took off because we were afraid that these attacks would continue. But I served as a naval aviator, served in combat operations, and I did so. I was already in uniform, but many were inspired because of 9/11 to join the military. And we have roughly 3 million veterans now of this global war on terror. The kids that came in when they were 18 years old, are now in their mid-40s, and the more senior enlisted back then and the senior officers back then are now in their late 60s, if you can believe that. And they're veterans of the global war on terror. So this spans multiple generations. And so where you were matters, but remembering those veterans and the 3 generations that have served in the global war on terror matters as well. This week, we recognize the 13 Gold Star families. We talked about that. This week, we honored the 23rd year since 9/11. And in the midst of that, the VA, the Veterans Administration, has threatened to shut down with about $2.88 billion of shortfall that would effectively stop the pensions and the GI Bill benefits for our veterans between September 20th and the end of the fiscal year. And it blows my mind that an organization that is literally in charge of making sure that we take care of our veterans, that's their charter, making sure that we don't forget them, that's their charter. During the week we honor our veterans in the wake of 9/11, is now threatening to remove benefits like their pensions and their GI benefits, burial rights, because of mismanagement of their budget. I made a commitment that I wouldn't let that happen. I'm proud to announce today that we will be bringing to the floor for a bipartisan vote, by the way, hopefully Tuesday afternoon, a supplemental package that will keep the VA fully funded through the end of the fiscal year, close that $2.88 billion gap, prevent the loss of benefits to our veterans, but also hold the VA accountable and require them to, within 30 days, report back to us on why they screwed this up, within 60 days, report back to us on how they're going to prevent this screw up from happening in the next fiscal year, and then have an IG and an inspector general come investigate the VA to make sure that they were running their programs correctly. So that's, to me, what it means to never forget. You guys know I've been fighting for you. You guys know I will always have your back. We've done amazing things in terms of funding our local law enforcement. I was perhaps one of the only local elected officials. There's a few others here today, like Jason Gibbs, who had the courage to not bend the knee in the wake of this whole defund the police movement that has done irreparable damage to our local communities. Our law enforcement right now are suffering the lowest retention rates, the lowest recruitment rates. They've got academy classes with 20 people going through the sheriff academy classes right now, and about usually more than half of those graduates end up going to Ventura County because they don't want to work in LA County, where the supervisors have completely cut them off at the knees and not given them the resources. I am the only one at the federal level that shares our values in terms of supporting law enforcement and making sure that we are unambiguous in that support of law enforcement. And you will continue to have that commitment from me, and you should see that coming out of my office as well. So that, to me, is never forgetting, because our law enforcement as well, we're veterans, and they have endured probably the toughest last 3 or 4 years that they have ever seen in the last probably 3 or 4 decades. So I want to thank the Guardians. I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to remind us all that this isn't a Republican versus Democrat thing, okay? This isn't a political thing. This is about that great unifying word called security, which we all believe in. We believe in economic security, which we don't have right now. We have a lot of economic uncertainty. We believe in national security, which we don't have right now in the wake of Afghanistan, the invasion of Russia into Ukraine, the events on October 7th in Israel, the growing of the nuclear power of Iran. We have Kim Jong-un in North Korea yesterday announcing that his nuclear warhead inventory has gone exponential in terms of size. National security, not strong right now. Border security, not strong right now. Neighborhood security here in Santa Clarita, we're blessed because we have fantastic law enforcement, and we're making sure that we stay whole and that we hold this ground and that we keep our neighborhoods secure. And I'll continue to bring earmarks in to make sure that our law enforcement don't have any funding gaps. School security, these are the things that matter. That word security is the great unifier, and I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, we all value security, and that's what this is about. And on 9/11, if there was a silver lining to 9/11 is that we were all unified on that day. We were one nation and under God, indivisible, with justice for all, and that including serving justice overseas to the bad guys who did bad things to us. And we have lost that as a nation. We need to regain that unity, regain the fact that this issue of security is the great unifying force, and we are all part of one team, which is called the United States of America. And that one team is the single most important team that we can be a part of right now. So get on board for the big win. Get on board for loving our country. Get on board for supporting our law enforcement, not just for the sake of some political campaign or some political party, but for the sake of your future, the security of your children's future, and the security of your grandchildren. Because 9/11 taught us that evil does exist. October 7th taught us evil still exists. And there are still people out there who literally want to kill us because we have our principles, our values. We believe in God. We believe in the Constitution. We have the freedom to come out here on a Saturday morning and have a political event or a demonstration, a car show without violence, without people coming out here disrupting us, putting us in handcuffs and dragging us away. That is unique to this country for 248 years. So don't squander this, guys. You guys know this more than anyone. Our law enforcement are here to protect us. Our firefighters, our first responders are here to protect us. But we, the people, need to protect them. And thank you to the Guardians for doing just that. You guys have my commitment. We're going to get this bill passed. By the way, the Senate agreed to take up my bill as well for this veterans supplemental. They had a different version that wasn't as good, I'll say. And we convinced them. So hopefully the president signs it into law by September 20th, which is when you would lose your benefits as a veteran. So this is a big deal coming up this week. You guys know I was the one responsible for the largest pay raise for our junior enlisted as well in the military. I'll keep doing things like that. And by the way, my Democrat counterpart, Salud Carbajal out of Santa Barbara, and I also passed that Military Spouse Licensing Relief Act, which affected about 140,000 military families to get their spouses so that their professional licenses like real estate, nurses, teachers can be cross-decked across state lines when they get orders without having to get recertified, without having to pay all that money and wait all that time to get recertified. We know we need teachers, we need nurses, we need doctors. Probably don't need any more lawyers. If there's lawyers out here, I'm sorry, but we're good on those. That law doesn't apply to you anyway. So the reality is bipartisanship still works. There are still shoots of hope when it comes to both parties coming together. I hope we demonstrate that in this next week with the VA bill that we're hopefully going to be getting signed into law. And you guys have my commitment that I will not bend my values, my principles, my love of country, my love of law enforcement. As a son of an LAPD officer, I know the value of what our officers do and the dangers that they're in on a daily basis. And I will continue to support you guys, the Guardians. I still have the hat, one of my favorite hats. But we do need to get out and vote, guys. We've got to get out. We've got to win elections. We've got to make sure that and I don't care. You've heard me from day one say we need weaker parties and stronger leaders. We have achieved the former, and we are now looking for the latter. We need stronger leaders to step up, and we need weaker parties. So don't blindly vote down party lines. Vote your security interests. And I would submit to you that when you do that, you'll have someone who represents you that actually aligns to the security interest of our nation as well. So God bless you guys. God bless our country. Never forget 9/11. Never forget that guy that was on the 98th floor deciding whether he was going to jump out of that building or burn alive. That was an actual American who woke up that morning not knowing he was going to be killed that day by savage terrorists. Those people are still out there wanting to kill us. I see it on a daily basis with classified briefs. We need to hold the line. We need to protect this country. And with the grace of God and your support, you guys, we will. So thank you. God bless. Take care.
Let us welcome our former mayor and current city councilman for our city of Santa Clarita, Jason Gibbs, to say a few words.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Tim. You know, I have never been a fan of following our congressman in speaking. And it's not just because he's an incredible orator and a great American. He always goes over his time limit, and I didn't get opposed on how much time I get to speak. But filibuster, that's what that was. But I do want to take just a quick moment before I begin. I want to recognize there are a number of local leaders who are with us today, and I want to make sure they are recognized. From the California 40th Assembly District, Assemblywoman Pilar Chiavo is with us this morning. Assemblywoman, welcome. I know I saw him out there looking for his free coffee. Hart School Board member Joe Messina, you're around here, right? Oh, right up front. You were waiting for this. Okay. Yeah, good man. I know I saw our planning commissioner, Ms. Patsy Ayala, is with us this morning. Patsy, thank you for being here. And then just a few people I want to quickly recognize. Of course, Carl and Jerry from KHTS for your incredible support of the Guardians and your work in this community. And no, she didn't promise me a campaign donation for that plug. And then I mentioned him last year, and I'll mention him again. There's a gentleman sitting over here named Christian. Christian has started the SCV Stairs Project. I'm a big fan of this project, not the stairs. The stairs scare the living bejesus out of me because they go pretty high. But Christian has done a lot of great work for this community in recognizing our first responders, and he does a 9/11 event every year. I think we're on year 2 or 3 now, right, that you've been doing this for the Stairs Project, where they get together and they remember those who passed by doing around, I think it's 13 sets of stairs to commemorate the number of stairs that people had to get down from those towers on 9/11. So Christian, I want to thank you for that work and for recognizing our law enforcement, recognizing our first responders, and for the work you do in this community. And he's known as the mayor of Saugus, so get to know this man. All right. So for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure to meet yet, I am Jason Gibbs, a proud member of our Santa Clarita City Council. Today will now mark the 4th year of the Patriots Day Car Show, hosted by the Guardians and KHTS. And I just cannot stress enough how significant this day truly is for all of us. It serves not only as a moment to come together and enjoy these incredible vehicles, but more importantly, an opportunity is now upon us to reflect on the events of September 11, 2001, a day that changed our nation forever. Today, we do gather to ensure that we never forget. On that fateful day, countless brave first responders rushed toward chaos and destruction, acting as true guardians, saving the lives, and tragically, in many cases, would make that ultimate sacrifice. In the face of unimaginable danger, they showed us what it means to be courageous and to be selfless. The missions of the Guardians is deeply connected to this legacy of service. Their work now honors the heroes of 9/11 by ensuring that today's first responders, our veterans, and our military personnel are never forgotten. These men and women have dedicated their lives to protecting us, but their sacrifices often leave lasting emotional, physical, and mental scars. The Guardians are here to make sure that these heroes receive the support and care that they deserve, offering them not just resources, but a community that stands by their side as they navigate their lives after their service. So if you want to see the real heroes in this country, you just look around today. Their service, their sacrifices, and their commitment are the reason that we are able to live in safety and freedom in this nation. To all of our veterans, our first responders, and our active duty military members, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your service. So please join me in a round of applause for these extraordinary individuals with us today, ladies and gentlemen. And as we enjoy today's event, please take a moment just to connect with one another. Look at these incredible cars, make new friends, and take time to say thank you to those heroes that are among us. They are the reason that we gather, and they deserve the unwavering support that they will always have from the city of Santa Clarita and this community. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here this morning.
So the question is, where were you 23 years ago on the 11th of September, 2001? I know some of you weren't even created yet, but the others that were, where were you? 23 years ago on September 11th started out for me as a normal day. My alarm went off at 5:45 in the morning. I got up, got myself ready, and went in and kissed my wife goodbye as she lay sleeping, walked into my 3 daughters' rooms and whispered, "I love you," to each of them. I headed into the fire station, and when I arrived for my 24-hour shift, I was the engineer there at Fire Station 81 in Pacoima. I prep the engine, I get it ready for the day, get all my stuff on it. That's kind of my job to do that. And I walked into the kitchen, and some guys were having fun and talking and getting ready for the day. And I poured myself a cup of coffee and headed outside to prep the engine for that day. It was not long after that somebody came outside and said, "Hey, guys, you got to come in. Take a look at the TV and see what's going on in New York." And so we went running inside, and what we saw was hard to comprehend. What had just happened? You know, was it a small plane? What we all saw was really just, it was boggling to us. Was this an accident? All those questions started to roll through our head. When the news media finally played back the video that showed the first plane flying into the World Trade Center, we knew that this was no accident. When the second plane hit, we knew that our country was under attack. Why would anybody do something so evil? We watched with great concern throughout that morning as our brothers and sisters rushed in to try to save those that could be saved. And then, one by one, the towers came down. It became incredibly quiet in the fire station that morning as we all realized what had just happened and where so many of our brothers and sisters and many others were when the towers fell. We knew that the loss of life would be tremendous, and our hearts began to grieve for the great loss of so many that we knew would perish that day. Many firefighters and others from across our country, our great country, on their own soon started finding flights, boarding planes, and heading to New York to help look for their fallen brothers and sisters that might be saved. I know many of you here can remember exactly where you were that day and the impact it had on you and your life and our country. I never forgotten that day, and I never will. During these September 11th attacks in 2001, 2 planes crashed into the World Trade Center, one into the Pentagon, and another, Flight 93, was brought down by some heroic passengers who decided to take down the hijackers themselves. After learning that the plane they were on had been hijacked and was heading towards some strategic target to be used as a weapon of destruction. The last few words spoken by one of these brave individuals said, "Let's roll." And soon after, Flight 93 crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, killing all 44 aboard. Approximately 2,977 people died that day. 343 were firefighters, 71 were law enforcement, 6,000 others were injured. In the days and weeks and months and years that followed, Thousands of others developed respiratory issues, diseases, and cancer from breathing in and being exposed to the dust, ash, and smoke from that day and the many days and months that followed during the search and rescue and cleanup operations. Over the last 23 years, the number of first responders and ground zero workers that have died since from illnesses that are attributed to their time at the site of the World Trade Center collapse now may have surpassed the numbers that died on that day. There are countless heroic stories of so many brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice that day in hopes of saving others. And thousands of lives were saved that day because of those heroic efforts. John 15:13 says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for a friend." That 9/11 event created a wave across our country of patriotism amongst all Americans, as flags were being flown from every car, business, and home. We all pulled together as Americans that day and said we were not going to be defeated by these acts of terrorism. And we committed as Americans to rise together from the ashes of this catastrophic event and become an even stronger America. After that day, many would go on and choose to join the military, fire departments, and law enforcement agencies and become first responders, nurses, EMTs, and healthcare workers. They felt the calling. They were looking for purpose. They were looking for an opportunity to make a difference by serving their country, their communities, their families, and their friends, and their neighbors. So today, we will soon have a moment of silence. During this time, would you take a moment to reflect and remember all that took place that day and the many days and years that have followed? Remember how amazing it is to live in the United States of America where we are free. Remember the many sacrifices that have been made before that day, on that day, and the many days and years that have followed to keep us a safe and free America. Would you please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you, Doug. Appreciate that, brother. As we enjoy our time together today as a community, as neighbors, as friends, as family, as new acquaintances, as veterans, as military, as firefighters, as law enforcement officers, let us never forget that day and those that lost their lives. And let us never forget those families that also lost their loved ones. We will never forget. That concludes this part of our remembrance and reflection ceremony. I have a few announcements to make with some valuable information for you all as you start your day. I really appreciate all of those that participated in our ceremony today. We couldn't do it without you, your words, Congressman Mike and Jason, Patrick, Terrell, those that have just been a part, the Young Marines of Santa Clarita, our amazing bagpipes, have helped to make this a really important day that we could remember and reflect. First of all, I have some news to share with you. Some of you may not know, but the Condors are going to do a flyover for us at 10:30. For those of you who have ever seen them, They fly AT-6 World War II era aircraft. And I don't know which direction they'll be coming from, but they will be coming here around 10:30. So have your cameras and phones ready. Keep your eyes to the sky, and that should be really cool. Also around 9:30, I don't know what time it is right now, but LA County Sheriffs is having their airship. Will probably be circling around here, saying hi to everybody and showing their support for today's event. I'd also like to take a moment and thank some very important people. I want to thank our partner for the 4th year in a row, the Goldmans with KHTS Hometown Station, for partnering with Guardians. Jerry, your husband, we appreciate you guys so much. You have been such a huge part of our growth and helping us pilot the way as we try to get the word out in our community about what we do and the support that we have to offer. I also want to thank our top gold sponsor this year, who happens to be my daughter, Jennifer, and who has been a sponsor for the past 3 years with Jennifer Herring Real Estate, for supporting our event and our Guardian community. It's pretty special when your whole family jumps in and gets involved in helping to do what you're so passionate about, and I'm a proud dad. This day would also not be possible without the help of all of our Guardian community of volunteers who have spent countless hours putting together today's 9/11 Patriot Day car show and breakfast. You guys are appreciated, and we are blessed to have you all here helping us make this day a success. Finally, we'd like to send a special thank you to our VIP guests this year, Congressman Mike Garcia, City Councilman Jason Gibbs, Assembly Candidate Patrick Lee, Pastor Jerry Cook of Freedom Way Church, and my brother Terrell Edwards. When Terrell first sang for us and sang the national anthem, I couldn't talk afterwards. As you can see, I'm kind of an emotional guy. I guess it's having 3 daughters. It kind of rubbed off on me. So I finally got a little testosterone in the house about a year ago, and my grandson moved in with us. So yeah, I can rub a little bit of elbows. So I'm working on the emotional thing, trying to shift a little bit, and I'm still struggling with it. So I'll do my best. Many of you have asked what Guardians SCV is about and what we do. And Guardians is a organization that was created by veterans, military, law enforcement, and firefighters for veterans, military, law enforcement, and firefighter professions, with a focus on building camaraderie through strong relationships and fostering personal growth with reflection and transparency. We are a peer-to-peer community of support that is helping others find hope, healing, and purpose and connection. And you know, the stats show that up to 22 veterans a day have committed suicide. And over the past several years, we have seen that more fire and police officers are dying from suicide than in the line of duty. So the need is there. We utilize peer-to-peer support. We are all equals. There is no rank in the room. We understand one another. We get each other. And when somebody shares, we get it without explanations. We are a brotherhood and a sisterhood working together to support each other and living our lives to the fullest. At Guardians, we do life together. We believe that iron sharpens iron. We have weekly group for all Guardians who are veterans, military, law enforcement, and firefighters, men and women. We also have a Guardian Wives group that meets every other week as well. We have recently expanded and now have a Guardians group at the VFW post in the San Fernando Valley at post 2323 in Granada Hills. Our newest small group of support is now at Oakmont Senior Living out here in Santa Clarita. And I happen to be looking for a assisted living for my mother-in-law. And every assisted living I went in seemed to have an honor wall with all the veterans that lived in their facility. And I went, holy smokes, there's some guys and gals we're missing. And they're in these assisted livings around here that maybe because of their physical condition, health, whatever the reason is, don't have access to come out and get involved. One of our Guardians who was attending regularly had some health issues. He lived at Oakmont and said, hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to come out anymore. My health has just gotten so bad. And he was such a big part and is a big part of our organization. And our guys got together and said, well, if Fred can't come out, we'll go to him. So we started a program called Friday with Fred. So 4 or 5 of our guys every other Friday would go out and hang out with Fred near the fireplace in the Oakmont Assisted Living and just was there with him, talked and shared and laughed, cried, whatever it was. And you know what? It was really impactful. And Fred says, I have a dream. He said, I'd love to see something like that, like what you guys do in my assisted living. He says, I know there's at least 10 other veterans and maybe a couple, maybe a law or fire guy or gal in this facility. What do you think? And we said, well, let's work on making your dream come true. And a couple of our guys got together, Steve Cunningham and Fred, who lives there, put together an idea of why don't we kind of do a Friday with Fred, but we'll do it on Thursdays at 1:30. And every other Thursday now we go out to the assisted living to be with our brave men and women who in some cases are left alone and forgotten. So that was really cool. So we now have that going on at Oakmont. We also have a off-road 4x4 club as another way to connect. What we do is within Guardians, we find out what guys and gals are passionate about. They have a passion, in this case, off-roading, doing stuff. We said, hey, why don't you start a group? Connect with others in the community, reach out. Maybe we'll find some more of our community out there. And that's just another way to bring others in, but it's also another way to enjoy being with one another. And there's so much healing that can take place during those times of enjoying what we are passionate about. We have had retreats throughout different years. We have special service projects that we do not only in our community, but outside of our community. We've done such service projects at our VFW post out here in Santa Clarita, post 6885 on Sierra Highway, and at the Dream Center near downtown Los Angeles, where we serve the veteran community there. So as you can see, we have a lot going on in our organization. And if you'd like to support what we do and you need further information about our organization, you can go on our website at guardiansscv.org or any of our social media platforms on Facebook and Instagram at Guardians SCV. Please take a moment to visit our Guardians booth, which is right here in front of the stage. If you have any questions, there'll be some great people there to answer any of those questions. If you'd like to get on our contact list so that you're kept aware of things that are going on with us, and maybe there might be some volunteer opportunities amongst that as well, let you know we have no paid staff. It's all run by volunteers. So every donation, every penny goes back into supporting our brave men and women. So I really appreciate y'all coming out here. Don't forget, our breakfast goes till 10. You do need a breakfast ticket that you can pick up at our Guardians booth. We have an awesome opportunity drawing that to my left, your right, you can see all the beautiful items that were donated for that opportunity drawing, and you can pick up tickets at the Guardians booth. I think they're one for $5 and 5 for $20 or more if you want to. And all that money that we bring in goes back to serving this amazing community. So thank you. Have a wonderful day. We really appreciate y'all coming out. And don't forget, all those car guys, come up and take a look at the potential trophies for today. These are really amazing works of art. Thank you. Sure. Also, since we do have a guest here today, Pilar Schiavo, I would like to have her come up and she'd like to share a few words.
Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Pilar Schiavo. I'm your assembly member for Santa Clarita Valley and the North San Fernando Valley. I'm very honored to be here today. I want to thank Tim and the Guardians. I'm the chair of the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee in the State Assembly, but I'm especially honored to be here today because I have a brother who's a veteran who served in Iraq, and my dad is a veteran who served in Vietnam. And you know, our office is really focused on making sure that we're delivering for veterans and those who serve, because I know personally how important that is for those veterans. My dad has suffered from cancer for 3 times now because of his exposure to Agent Orange. And the VA has saved his life more than more times than I can count at this point. But I wanted to share a little bit about the work that we have been doing in our office to make sure that some of the things that are coming from Sacramento to support our veteran and military and law enforcement community, and also some of the things that we can support folks in our community with if you need resources. So we have been really stepping up to serve those who have been serving. And one of the things that we've done is increase law enforcement dollars. So we've increased the budget for our CHP, which obviously is the state law enforcement. With my support, we've been able to increase that and also drive more dollars to local law enforcement, especially around retail theft. So we have $30 million that have gone to LAPD and the sheriffs to address retail theft and really tackle that in our community. We have funded, I fought for funds directly to come to Homes for Families, which creates housing for veterans, affordable housing that people can actually pay the mortgage on. And it has wraparound supportive services as well. So they'll be starting that in a new location in our district because of those starter funds. We got $1 million in the state budget that we brought back for an emergency command unit here in Santa Clarita. So to help the city of Santa Clarita purchase that emergency command unit to make sure that our first responders have the resources that they need wherever they need them, whenever they're responding to an emergency, a fire, or whatever it may be in our community. And then we also just carried a bill at the very end. The Biden administration changed the rules to allow that or to make it so that disability benefits don't count when you're considering your income for VA housing and housing for veterans. And so I carried a bill to make sure that our state law is in line with that. So now veterans will not be penalized if they are disabled and they have disability income to be able to get housing. And we also had bills in front of our committee, our Military and Veteran Affairs Committee, to exempt tuition for military spouses and veteran spouses so that they can go to state universities and UCs without paying tuition, and waives those tuition fees. So we're hoping that will move all the way to the end and get signed by the governor. And we have a senior fair that's coming up on the 10th at the Senior Center. So October 10th, 9 a.m. at the Senior Center. Please come. We'll have over 30 vendors, a number of resources for veterans. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight that we fought for right when we got into office was a VSO, a veteran service officer, that we did not have dedicated in our community at that time. And we were able to, for the first time in our history, which in Santa Clarita, to have a VSO here. I just spoke with a veteran the other day who drove all the way to San Bernardino to get connected with VA services and a VSO. And now we have one dedicated here multiple days a week in our Veterans Collaborative, which is a great place to stop by if you haven't already, and where you can connect up with that VSO. So we have some information, resources, veteran resources pamphlet, some resources to help keep money in your pocketbook, which is a lot of what we focus on in our office, and then a veterans resource book. So if anyone wants any of these resources, come on and see us. And look forward to meeting folks today, and just really honored to be with you in this important day. Thank you so much.
All righty. That concludes all the ceremony and speeches and all of that today. About 9:30, I believe LA County Sheriff's airship should be